Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
Isaiah 61. The Spirit of the Lord God is upon me, because the Lord hath anointed me to preach good tidings unto the meek. He hath sent me to bind up the brokenhearted, to proclaim liberty to the captives, and the opening of the prison to them that are bound, to proclaim the acceptable year of the Lord, and the day of vengeance of our God, to comfort all that mourn, to appoint unto them that mourn in Zion, to give unto them beauty for ashes, the oil of joy for mourning, the garment of praise for the spirit of heaviness, that they might be called trees of righteousness, the planting of the Lord, that he might be glorified.
When we analyze the scriptures and think of it spiritually, we can see the bigger picture and the greatness of the kingdom, how it's going to be, but we still just have a little inkling. We really don't have the fullness. Remember, Yahweh Shah said, it is your Father's good pleasure to give you the kingdom of heaven. So what do you think is going to come with the kingdom of heaven? Many benefits. So we have no clue or idea what the kingdom of heaven is going to be like. Specifically, we just have ideas. Some brothers have a better imagination than others. They may be able to draw certain things based off of what we read in scriptures, but to actually grasp the actual glory of it, it would be like the Apostle Paul trying to explain the spiritual realm, where he said it wasn't law for me, and there were not enough words to express the magnificence and the beauty of the spirit world. You see? So we can only speak on carnal things and the imagination that we may have of how the kingdom is going to be, but the greatness of it, the glory of it, we don't know yet until it actually comes.
Barakatah Yahweh Shah, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh, Barakatah Yahweh Shah.
All right, Shalom. First and foremost, I would like to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shah, Bahashem, Rakakwadash, and double honors unto the apostles and the elders of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers. And peace and blessings, salutations to the hopeful elect out there pushing this word and truth and this sincerity across the four winds in the name of Yahweh Bashem Shah, pushing to get up out here. Shalom to the hopeful elect, the believers, the listeners who have came back to the obedience of the scriptures through faith in Yahweh Bashem Shah. All right, going into another, morning news and prophecy, dealing with the happenings, So I got a few different videos, a few different topics I want to touch on this morning. All right, as we know now, the government, is supposed to be, officially open. And what we're seeing is these devils, are playing major psyops, okay, on the masses, okay? And this whole thing of, the shutdown and, there was economical damage, that's been done that can't be reversed, by, signature on the paper, okay? And also there's psychological damage, that's being done, okay, by these different shutdowns and news reports. And, then it's a distraction, and this devil just has a lot going on, okay? And ultimately, this devil is getting trust. One thing that he wants from the people more than anything is trust in him. So these shutdowns and open up and shut down and open up and this and that, just got people all over the place, okay, to where people are trusting in this devil. All right, because what this is doing is conditioning the people to always look to the government for a solution. Okay, because now that they drug this thing out and supposedly open up now. Okay, it gets people's mind conditioned to always trust in the government for a solution. Okay, because you got niggas talking about their prayers have been answered and God heard us about this government opening up. Okay, so what this does is just put people in a deeper, all right, state, of trust, a deeper state of being asleep. People are asleep. Okay, they're in the deeper form of what they call it, like a coma. It's put people in the deeper coma when it comes to trusting this man and what he's getting ready to do. Okay, because Esau wants to garner as much trust as he can, from the masses going forward into this new system. Okay, and that's why he's going to keep having these people all over the place. No stability. He's intentionally, making things unstable. Okay, to where he looks like the constant stabilizer. Okay, until he gets to this ultimate goal, which is having the sea hip be the ultimate stabilizer. Okay, for society going forward. Okay, it's a much bigger agenda in play. So he intentionally made, food stamps, the headline, for the last month and a half. Okay, the hood, government assistance. He made these things the headline for the last month and a half. Okay, for distraction. Okay, and also to garner people to trust in him. Okay, because once again, Trump looks like a hero. Okay, the Republicans look like a hero. It was the Republicans that ended. So playing into that narrative of this false left-right paradigm, and it's all a big psyop. Okay, and if you have bought into this psyop, well, this devil is taking you on a journey to this MOTB. Okay, he's taking you to a path, all right, to where you're going to trust him with everything. You're going to trust the devil with your life. Okay, and this is ultimately what he wants more than anything is people's trust. So he creates fear, he creates anxiety. He has people, depleting, their savings and their resources to where what? Now he has more leverage. Okay, now he has more leverage than he's ever had. Okay, so let's get a few precepts and then we'll get into the video. Okay, so let's go here, and I've been I say reading in the AMP, all right, the amplified, all right, version. So you go here, this is Jeremiah 17:5. It said, "Thus said the Lord, curses the man who trusts in and relies on mankind, making weak, faulty human flesh his strength." Okay, and you're making weak, faulty, human flesh your strength when you trust in this system, man. Okay, you're making the most, all right, a vile, wicked, corrupt, hateful, nation created, Esau, Edom. This is what you're trusting in going into these times. Okay, especially tribes, man, because if you read on, it said, "Curses the man who trusts and relies on mankind, making weak, faulty human flesh his strength, and whose mind and heart turn away from the Lord Yahweh Bashim Shai." Okay, because once again, all right, these psyops is making you trust in him more. All right, and you Israelites, you're turning further and further away from your power. You see, because as the prophets are saying that this is going to collapse, it's going to be the end. So this devil, he so-called revives this thing. It's like, well, I'm gonna trust in him because what the prophets talking about. Okay, they said this was it. But now we back. So I'm gonna trust in this. Okay, and it's all a psyop. Okay, and the Lord is doing this, man, because the Lord wants certain Israelites, all right, to trust in this man going into these times. Okay, so is the Most High using Esau, to set, all right, a lot of people up for failure, man. Okay, but you're trusting, okay, in this faulty system, all right, that's designed, all right, to devour you, oppress you, okay, but you trust in it. You see, Jeremiah 17:6, it said, "For he will be like a shrub in a parched desert, okay, and shall not see prosperity when it comes." And see, you people, it's gonna come a time where Esau is gonna completely leave you out to dry. You see, right now the devil just teasing you, man. Okay, breaking you down, all right, psychologically. Okay, and it's gonna come a time where the devil things are not gonna kick back on. You know, and instead of this being, and so for some people, this is gonna be a wake up call for a few. You know, and they're gonna take heed. You know, you Israelites, they're gonna begin to take heed to the word because they see, okay, this ain't it. Okay, for a few, but for the masses, they're gonna trust in this man more. They're gonna depend on this man more. Okay, so there's, you know, because with these events, it always go two ways. You know, either, all right, this can cause you to question this whole system, you know, and it can draw you into this truth as an Israelite, or it can make you, all right, doubt the truth more and lean into this system more. Okay, so it can go, you know, either way. And the Most High does this. He shakes these things up. You know, the Lord calls these shakeups to happen. You know, because you're gonna fall on one side or the other. Okay, it said, "For he will be like a shrub in a parched desert, and shall not see prosperity when it comes." And see, prosperity is coming for the elect of Israel. Okay, and we're going to see the difference of trusting in Esau and trusting in Yahweh Bashim al-Shah. We're going to see the difference. Okay, but what's happening, these events, okay, are causing people to begin to pledge their loyalty, all right, to one side or the other. Okay, there ain't no in between. You see, and it says, "For he will be like a shrub in a parched desert, and shall not see prosperity when it comes, but shall live in the rocky places of the wilderness, in the uninhabited, all right, salt land," which ultimately just going to be in a bad predicament. You know, trusting in this man, you know, continually, you know, because people are doubling down in their trust in Esau now, in this system. You know, especially what, you know, these promises that he's making. Okay, as he's about to open up the government, you know, Trump is like, "I want to give TSA, you know, the people that work, you know, that kept coming to work for TSA, he wants to give them $10,000 bonuses." Okay, you see, it's all psychological, man. All right, these people do 10 things to harm you. Okay, but then they so-called do one thing to help you, and they have your best interest in mind. All right, it's all psychological. Okay, and our people that's not in the know, they can't see this, man. Okay, they think that these politicians are working around the clock with their best interest in mind. All right, and what it's going to lead to is our people being in very bad predicaments, man. Okay, starving to death, civil unrest. Okay, a teeth of wild beasts. I'm talking about some terrible predicaments, man. Pestilence. Okay, cannibalism. It's gonna lead to a terrible place, man. Okay, and there ain't gonna be no relief. It's gonna come a time where relief not gonna come. Okay, but he's getting you people, all right, conditioned to trust in his relief. Okay, so let's keep reading. Verse 7 says, "Blessed with spiritual security is the man who believes and trusts in and relies on the Lord, and whose hope and confident, all right, expectation is the Lord Yahweh Bashim al-Shai." And for us believers, you know, we, you know, have to be mindful, all right, that our expectation is in the Lord and not in this society. Okay, not have our hopes up for these promises that this devil is throwing out. You know, because if he deposit money into the account, if he send out, this check or whatever. Of course, be wise, save some, do what you got to do, make smart, purchases, because it's all of the Lord. Okay. And see, we understand that whatever happened, all right, is of the Lord. Okay. See, people are going to look at this and, they're going to equate this to Trump or, the government just, they're going to equate these things to Trump just being this great president. And, nah, man. Okay. Whatever happens at the end of the day, our expectation is in the new kingdom. Damn this place, man. Damn the promises, because we're going to be hearing a lot of things and, a lot of speculation, because this devil, he's going to keep certain narratives just going to where people can discuss and argue back and forth about. He's going to keep that going while they roll out what they really want to roll out, man, which is a complete new system. But our expectation is this whole system being destroyed and the new kingdom being established at the return of Yahushua, man. Yahushua coming to take this place to war. You see, our hope and confidence, all right, is in Yahweh Bashim Yahushua. Okay, not in this place being up and running. Our security is not in this place being up and running, man. Okay, that's not what we base security off of, but it's people that they have this sigh of relief because the government is open back up. All right, and they think they're in this good case now. Okay, it's a sigh of relief because this place up and running. This is their security, and that's a fragile security. Okay, because Yahweh Bashim Al-Shai is getting ready to come and tear down. As it says in Malachi, they shall build, but I will throw down again. All right, so let's go from here. Let's get this first video. I got quite a few today, so let's get this first one. All right. So yeah, this is dealing with the government supposed to reopen. All right, then he's gonna talk about these checks. In which, hey, this is right on cue. This is the devil. Like you don't expect, and we should expect these things. It's to the point now where we follow this man and we recognize his patterns, man. You should be like, okay, we should be able to tell where this devil is going. Okay, with every move we make. Okay, so now the government opened back up, and now there's talks of $2,000 terror checks. Okay, it's all psychological, man. Hey, this is chess with this devil, psychological chess, man. You see, so let's play this.
So we have some good news and some bad news regarding the government shutdown and those $2,000 tariff rebate checks that President Trump has been promising. The first piece of good news is President Trump signs the funding bill, meaning the government shutdown has ended. As of last night, the government shutdown is over, and the White House is demanding that furloughed workers return to work today. He says, get back to work today. That's big news because right now, many of the federal agencies are starting to reopen. This is after the longest shutdown we have had in American history. But the big news now is, where do we go moving forward? How do we get through this? Well, here's the first piece of information you need to know, and that is President Trump is committed to those $2,000 tariff dividend payments. The White House has made it very clear those payments are coming. It's just a matter of when and how. This is where things get very interesting. But what President Trump said when he signed the bill, when he passed that bill late last night, well, that shows us and tells us that's an indicator of what is likely going to happen moving forward. Listen to this right here.
Riverside helps with the entire process of making a podcast, from recording to edit and even generating clips automatically.
I also want to call for a termination to the filibuster so that this can never happen again. If we had the filibuster terminated, this would never happen again. And don't forget, we have another date coming up in the not too distant future. We can never let this happen again. And we should be able to pass really great legislation. So I say terminate the filibuster because, by the way, the Democrats will do it immediately if they ever assumed office, which hopefully they won't.
So he says right there that he is calling to immediately remove the filibuster. The filibuster is that provision in the Senate that requires a 60 vote minimum. That is where the Senate was struggling. That is where the senators were at an impasse. And it took, 8 Democrats to jump on board with Republicans to pass this bill in the Senate just a couple of days ago? Yeah, that's what President Trump does not want. He wants to ensure that if there is the majority vote, both in the House and the Senate, and the president says this is what we need to do, we can't have one party holding things up, which is essentially what many Democrats did. But here's the concern. If Republicans change the laws of the Senate and remove the filibuster, if Democrats were to regain control of the Senate or regain control of the House, the Senate, and the presidency in the future, well, they would have the power to go and pass any legislation that they want as long as they have the simple majority.
And what they're doing, all right, they're making, all right, the president, all right, the presidential office a dictatorship. All right, because when you study, if you study Augustus Caesar, all the power that the Caesars had after Augustus Caesar came from policies that Augustus made, and he did some things to make it seem as if, the Senate, okay, had power, all right, while the whole time, all right, he was concentrating power into the office of the Caesars. That's why when you get on down the line, the Caesars could act like dictators because Augustus put, particular things in place, okay, to concentrate power, all right, to the Caesar, the emperor, okay. That's why, as you get further on down, all right, the Caesar had dictator-like power. And they're doing this because they need dictator-like power. The elites need dictator-like power, okay, in the White House through the president, all right, to pass all these things that they want to pass going forward, okay? So they're sabotaging, all right, the government to make it seem incompetent, all right, to justify a whole new style of government, okay? While people argue about, people getting put out, Big Shirley, stealing groceries, they make that the focal point, but they're redoing government, okay? They're re-engineering, all right, the president office into a dictatorship, all right, so they can really start fast tracking these policies, man. Okay, so this is what's happening, all right. So now, all right, you're not going to pay attention to that. You're just going to pay attention, all right, to Republican, Democrat, and now this whole tease of a $2,000 check. So this is going to be the main topic now. People are going to be talking of this is going to be, all right, in continual rotation. All right, it's going to be all over social media. You're going to keep getting all these different updates about the $2,000. Breaking news, $2,000. All right, the latest on the $2,000 terror check. You're going to keep getting these reports. Wow, these devils, okay, are turning the presidential office, all right, the executive branch, okay, of government into a dictatorship. Okay, so let's just play a little more.
This is where some are saying that getting rid of the filibuster is not the right move, but President Trump says if we can get rid of the filibuster to the American people, that's going to boost Republicans' chances of getting more seats in the upcoming midterm election. We can also do more and bring in additional tariff revenue, potentially not hurting the American people, but bring in more revenue, bring more countries back or more companies back to the United States, and at the same time, potentially, this is a big one, get rid of the federal income tax. That is what President Trump's ultimate goal is, according to many experts. So,
Oh boy. And then just to hear this bullshit, man. You know, once you know and you just hear these niggas like like they got your best interest in mind, man. This is bullshit, man. Okay? Like, look, if you just, because this is what he's saying. Give me more power, I'm going to do right by y'all. All right? And they're constantly showing you that they don't give a damn. Okay? But basically, just to break it down in simple terms, because this nigga's government, and he makes this shit so overly complicated to no one can understand what the hell this nigga is doing. Okay? But basically what he's saying is give me more power, and I'm going to do right by y'all. I'm gonna start trying to give y'all, you know, dividends, and I'm gonna start trying to cut off, you know, federal income tax. Okay, all these promises, man. Okay, and it's all right, just a distraction to give you something to talk about while they constantly build this digital prison. Okay, while they constantly transition from this so-called democracy to a technocracy, man. Okay, so that's what this is about. So let's go here. Okay, so you're gonna constantly hear, you know, like, see, I can't, and they're gonna pitch it. I can't. Well, I want to give everybody $2,000, but the Democrats are in the way. You know, the way that the government is structured. You know, I got too many restraints. I can't even do right by y'all like I want because there's too many restraints, okay, within government. Okay, this is why I need more power, you know, to do right by the American people. And this is the pitch that this devil is going to push going forward, man. Okay, so let's go here. You know, that's a spirit, you know, as the brother got that in Proverbs 23:5, because I'm going to get that in the AMP. You know, but that's the spirit. So let's your brother GMS out of one. All right, Hawaii. So let's go here and let's get that in the book of Proverbs 23:1, the AMP. Okay. So this is the book of Proverbs 21:1. It says, when you sit down to dine with a ruler, consider carefully what is set before you. Okay. So what this devil is doing, he's constantly bringing the masses back to, okay, the negotiating table. Okay. And he's shoveling down. Okay. And he's presenting, okay, this new world order. Okay, as a delicacy, as a nice meal. Okay, dividend checks, no federal income tax, UBI. You know, AI is gonna produce so much that, you know, we're gonna be so profitable. You know, you're gonna get a dividend from stocks. You know, you're gonna have shares in Amazon, and you know. So he's gonna lay it out like it's just some great meal. Okay, and this is what the devil is finna do. He's finna present, okay, this new world order is if this magnificent buffet of benefits. Okay, but when you in the spirit and say a prudent man look well into his going, and you consider carefully what this devil is doing, you can see it. You see, and this is the benefits of having, all right, the wisdom of Yahweh Bashem Al Shai, where you can see through this man. Okay, Proverbs 23:2 says, for you will put a knife to your throat if you are a man of great appetite, man. You're going to destroy yourself. Okay, it's just like putting a knife to your own throat, listening to this man and trying to partake in what this devil has going on is like putting a knife to your own throat. Okay, trying to partake in what this devil got going on, what he's going to present. It says, do not desire his delicacies, okay, for it is deceptive food offered to you with questionable motives, man. Okay, it's all deceptive, man. Now, like, cause if you get $2,000 deposit, okay, that's from the Lord, man. All right, as believers, we know we got a whole different perspective from these people. Okay, $2,000 ain't gonna make us Babylon. Okay, we if $2,000 can make you think that this man is okay, all right, then hey, this was never for you. All right. So they deposited $2,000 into your bank account. It's from the Lord. All right. Hey, be wise, understand the times we in, help if you can, hey, better your situation a little bit, which 2,000 ain't no life-changing money. It can, it can be a boost, okay, to what you got going on, but don't say be wise with it. All right. But people are going to look at this. If he sends out that $2,000, man, people are going to look at this as, okay, this is the way we need to go going forward. Whatever policy they got, they just going to want to keep partaking, man. Okay. You see, but no one's going to, and this is going to stop people from questioning their motives. Okay. So verse 5, it says, when you set your eyes on wealth, I'm gonna jump down to verse 6. It's the point. It said, do not eat the bread of a selfish man or desire his delicacies, man. And this is the philosophy, man. You eat down, you digest this man's philosophies and his new system and his way and his policies, and you think, okay, that this is the way going forward. Okay, this is a selfish man. This man is creating a system to where he wants to control every resource. Okay. He wants to control your thoughts. Okay. This is a selfish man. He wants all the wealth concentrated to a very small class. Okay. Of elites. All right. And he wants to spoon feed you the resources based on the social credit score. Okay. This is a system that this man is very selfish, man. The earth has all this abundance, all this land, all these resources, but he wants everything hoarded to himself, and he wants to spoon feed you, okay, resources, give you credits. You won't have nothing but a credit, okay, a programmable credits, okay, to where he can just, all right, spoon feed you to his liking the resources of the earth, man. Okay, and we're gonna get there in this next video. Proverbs 23:7. It said, for as he thinks in his heart is in his mind, so is he. All right, in behavior, one who manipulates. Okay, so you people are just being manipulated, you're being toyed with. Okay, so you're gonna hear all these, reports and rumors and updates, and it's just this devil manipulating you, man. Okay, he says to you, eat and drink. You see, he has this spirit. Hey, eat up, drink. You good? Get as much as you want. Get the refill. You see, that's the spirit he coming in. Okay, but it's a spirit of manipulation. It said, yet his heart, which is his mind, is not with you, man. This man doesn't have a mind towards, okay, you being good, you being in a good case. Okay. This is not the purpose of him moving how he's moving for your benefit. All right. He's not thinking about your ass. He's thinking about more control for him. Okay. And to keep you in constant submission. Okay. Complete dependency, man. Okay. Because this man can never have enough. All right. So let's go here. Let's get this video here. This is a video put up by the beloved Elder Shaquat out of here in GMS Mississippi camp. Okay. And it's called the upcoming, digital prison. And I'll put this in the chat. Okay. The brothers always putting together compilations, okay, about the happiness, so follow this channel, GMS Dedication. You can click on the link, follow that channel, constantly be edified, and up to date, of the happiness, man. Okay. So let's play this, okay? Because this is what the devils got going on. All right. While you niggas is clicking your heels, okay, about the promise of $2,000 check, the government being open, the stamps coming back or whatever, while you niggas clicking your heels, this is what the devil, okay, has going on. All right, this is the real play. Okay.
The lust to control other human beings is a story as old as time. There's a very strong drift in the direction of globalization, of the ultimate centralization of control in the hands of unelected officials at supranational organizations.
They want all of the resources of the world in their pocket.
The bigger picture is that an attempt is underway now to collapse liberal democracy and replace it with global technocracy.
This is a coup. They're saying we can control with rules. We don't need currency anymore.
It's like an inverted prison. You are supposedly free to roam about, but everything you want to access is behind lock and key.
The potential for social control is gigantic and potentially irreversible.
They plan to commandeer land, reduce farming, and radically change the food we eat, transform the supply of electricity, and then dictate how we use it, and replace currency with a system of credits. All three strategies are built on the premise of a climate crisis caused by carbon dioxide.
I do not think there's a climate crisis, and I base that on all the evidence and the climate data sets that we build to answer questions just like that. The government is very clear that they want a catastrophic story.
There is no single science paper that proves conclusively that humans control all or most of the global climate.
Europe's mad dash towards net zero is effectively economic suicide. Politicians are purposely impoverishing ordinary people, purposely deindustrializing Europe.
It's just tremendous amount of damage in the name of saving the planet. It does make you ask what is it we're actually saving if we're paving it over.
I think what we're dealing with here is actually a global war on agriculture.
When you look at how many farms are selling up, we're walking into food shortages.
If I can switch everybody from real food to pharma food, then 100% of the agriculture industry can go through my publicly traded stocks, and I have complete control.
This is the biggest public relations scam in the history of the world. But it's far more than that. It's a blueprint. It is the action plan.
All life on Earth is going to be radically changed.
Everything will be monitored. The environmental consequences of every human action.
The general population cannot fathom the psychopathy of the vision that they're facing.
Once the digital ID is in place, it's game over for humanity.
This is their plan, guys. This is their plan. A one world government, one world cashless currency, a one world central bank, one world military, end of all national sovereignty, end of privately owned property, end of the family unit, mandatory, you know what, universal basic income, microchipped tracking for all citizens, world social credit system. We've been warning you guys for years and years and years that this is coming. This is what they've been doing. Thousands of 5G towers, end of private transportation. They want, electric cars that they can shut off. That's why they're pushing it. End of private farms, business-owned governments only, travel restrictions, and restricted land uses. The 15-minute smart cities. This has been their plan. This is why the world is in so much chaos, because these people, they want complete and total control. These are the people that print money out of thin air, that control everything, that own everything. There's a specific group of people too, and I'm pretty sure that most people know who they are. I can't say it, but you know who they are, that are doing all this stuff. They're the one that caused all these problems. They want total and complete control because they're psychopaths. Now, this right here is why we've been under attack spiritually, emotionally, and physically.
Entry denied. You have criticized the government.
Sorry, last week you purchased too much meat and now your access to your money has been denied.
You haven't let the government know about this trip and your access is denied.
You have gone over your carbon credit allowance of food this week and your access to food has been denied. A day in the life of UK school children 2035 with digital ID. You have gone over your electricity allowance this week and your access is denied. You have gone over your weekly travel limit and your access is denied.
It's purely a digital concentration camp. It's a slavery system.
When Catherine Austin Fitts talks, we should listen. She's a former high-level investment banker in New York and held senior office in the first Bush administration in Washington.
There may be 1,000 models of how it could work. But essentially, you will have, whether it's a banking account or a credit card, and it can be turned off and on. So my incentive system is not you go to work and work hard and you get money. My incentive system can be based on how you behaved in the last 5 minutes, on a 24/7 basis.
CBDCs, as the name suggests, would be issued by central banks like the Federal Reserve in America and the Bank of England, not by high street banks. They would signal the end of cash, and every transaction you make would be transparent and held on a permanent database. Crucially, under a net zero regime, your carbon footprint could be at the heart of the system.
We're developing, through technology, an ability for consumers to measure their own carbon footprint. What does that mean? That's where are they traveling? How are they traveling? What are they eating? What are they consuming on the platform? So, individual carbon footprint tracker.
This can be the infrastructure for a carbon credit system. It's totalitarian control, and if people don't become aware of it now, it's going to be too late to backtrack from this. It's a ratchet system where it's very difficult, if not impossible, to backtrack.
And I think when they do this next one, they're really going to push not only the digital IDs, but things like universal basic income and all these sort of things. So they're going to wipe most people out. This is going to come up soon. Could be by the time this video's out. That's how close we are. Any day now, this is going to happen. And most people are going to get wiped out. They don't subscribe to our stuff. They're mostly in debt. They've got death contracts called mortgages. They're going to lose their jobs. And so many people are going to actually do the problem, reaction, solution. The problem is they're going to crash everything, wipe people out. The reaction is going to be people basically begging for help. And the solution will be getting them into basically a digital prison and getting them on communism, basically. Sort of like a fascist communism. And get them in their smart city concentration camps and all that kind of stuff. But the digital IDs are going to be very important for all of this. This is really what the Palantir sort of AI control grid's all about, is getting the biometrics of everyone, getting them into a database, then getting them to go onto these systems, and then slowly over time, basically forcing them to take injections, saying they can't buy this much meat, they can't fly, all these sort of things. It'll probably take a bit of time. I don't expect any of this stuff's going to happen like overnight. But they're definitely pushing forward with it massively. Like almost every country on earth is pushing the biometric digital IDs.
This is no longer about us, honestly. I think it's too late, but it's about our generations to come. Your children, your grandchildren, your great-grandchildren. There is a company called Cognify. If you Google it and watch their video, and it's the Future of Incarceration is what it's titled. With this Cognify stepped out against the government, or you have a belief system that is not consistent with the country that you live in, and you are prosecuted for a crime by their definition, you will then get an opportunity to choose. Let's just use this for hypothetical, a measly petty theft. You can spend 50 years in prison, or you can go through the Cognify process, which in 3 minutes, they will imprint memory sets. So let's say there was someone who was even harmed by the crime that you did. You will be able to feel the emotions of your victim, the emotions that the family members went through, all of that. You will be forced to have the empathy, and you will feel like you've been imprisoned for 25 years or whatever it may be, but it's only 3 minutes.
This is Black Mirror type stuff.
Yes, so it's only 3 minutes. And I'm not joking. You watch it and it will just blow you away. But remember, they say this is for the goodness of society. Okay, would you trust your government with your memory sets?
So it's not just an ideology, it's an action plan. It's a blueprint to inventory and control all land, all water, all plants, all animals, all production, all construction, all law enforcement, all energy, all food, all information, everything on the planet, including you. Sustainable development. Now, when you see the term sustainable development, of course you think you know what it means, but you really don't know what it means. When you see the term SMART, which is sustainability, monitoring, assessing, rating, and tracking you, there's total continuity between Malthus, a corporate group called the Club of Rome, universities, the philanthropies. You've got the corporate, the governance, and the foundations and organizations, including the Holy See, the Vatican.
They told us it was for our safety. They told us it was for our stability, that control would bring peace. We believed them. At first, it was convenience. One app for everything. One system for everyone. But soon, every step, every breath, every thought was monitored, measured, restricted. They said compliance was freedom, that obedience was security.
We pledge our loyalty, our strength, and our futures to the central authority.
But freedom was erased.
Purchase denied. Carbon limit exceeded.
And obedience became law. There was another path, a way out, a chance to choose differently, but the world turned away. And now, accounts frozen.
Please, help me.
Voices silenced, identities deleted, children raised to never know freedom.
We are one. We serve the bank.
The chains are invisible, but the prison is real. The world chose control, but choice is never gone. What will you choose?
Yeah, man. You know, and this is what these devils are on. All right, this is the real play that they're on. All right, a technocracy. All right, a complete control system. Okay, nothing that the devil, all right, is doing is for your benefit. Okay, but he knows, him being more crafty, all right, than any beast of the field. He knows how to package this thing up. Okay, but this is the system that he's herding people into. Okay, and he's going to fail. All right, he's going to absolutely fail. So that's why you go here. Let's get this in Job. Okay, chapter 5. All right, this Job 5 and 12. Okay, it says he frustrates, all right, the devices and schemes of the crafty, so that their hands cannot attain success or achieve anything of lasting worth, man. Okay, and this is the reality that the devil will bring, all right, if it was up to him. Okay, but he's going to get, to a certain point, man, and the Lord is going to intervene. Okay, this system is not going to be established, okay, for the long haul, because he believed in this system. He believed that a system like that, we just seen that he can stay in power forever. Okay, that he will be able to control the masses forever through this system. He will never have to worry about him being overthrown, an opposing enemy, an opposing military, you know, an opposing narrative, you know, against his. Okay, because it'd be a system of complete restraint and control, all right, through digital technology, man. Okay, through the digital grid. And this is what he's transitioned into. Okay, and it says he catches the so-called wise in their own shrewdness. This is the Most High. Okay, he catches the devil in his own shrewdness. Okay, and the advice of the devious is quickly thwarted, man. You know, so the Lord is going to allow this man to, you know, continue to make steps and strides, okay, within, you know, his enterprise. Okay, but when the Lord, you know, finally sends Yahushua, all this shit gonna be uprooted quickly. Okay, that's why so much, you know, destruction is coming. Okay, all this infrastructure, all these data centers, all this, because I think America, okay, has like over 50% of the world's data centers. Okay, for this grid. I mean, for this new system. Okay, well, all this is going to be destroyed. You know, between the nukes, the chariots, okay, the earth shaking to and fro. All this going to be destroyed and thwarted, man. Okay, he shall build, but I will throw down. So everything that this devil is building, see, and this is the thing that he's building is the digital system. Okay, but the Lord's getting ready to throw it down. Let's get that in Malachi. I wonder what it say in the AMP. Okay, let me get in here. It's the book of Malachi. All right, chapter 1. Okay, in verse 4. It says, this in the AMP, it said, though impoverished, Edom says, we have been beaten down, but we will return and build up the ruins. Okay, and this is, you know, the fall of, you know, the pagan Roman Empire, you know, specifically the Western Roman Empire, you know, ruled by Esau. Okay, you know, so as, you know, pagan Rome fell, all right, this devil, all right, in his mind, you know, he came back during the Renaissance to what? Rebuild. You know, the Lord allowed him to come back and rebuild. Thus said the Lord of hosts, they may build, but I will tear down, and men will call them the territory, all right, the wicked territory, the people against whom the Lord is ignorant, all right, forever. And let's get this in the NLT. I think the NLT says it the best. All right, so let's go here and read the NLT. All right, this is Malachi 1:4 in the NLT. So Esau's descendants, okay, which means the people of Edom. Okay, not just talking about one man. All right, the descendants of Esau, which are the so-called white man. All right, so-called white race of today. You know, now you have, you know, Edomites, just as you have Israelites that look like other nations. You have Edomites sprinkled amongst these other nations. You know, a lot of these, especially, you know, down there in Central South America, a lot of those leaders, all right, those government officials are Edomites, man. Certain presidents, you know, I think the president of Mexico, okay, she's a small hat, man. Okay, but the majority of these so-called, all right, white people, you know, their line goes back to Edom. And these Edomites that we see in power, all right, these red-faced devil, these elite bankers, and okay, these puppet governments that are set up, all right, these are the descendants of Esau, man. Okay, it says we have been shattered, but we will rebuild the ruins. Okay, but the Lord of Heaven's army replies, they may try to rebuild, but I will demolish them again. Okay, and now he's trying to build what? A digital empire. You know, he's built back, you know, the Greco-Roman, empire. He's revived it. Now he's trying to take it digital. And this is when the Lord is going to intervene and demolish, man. Okay, he said their country will be known as the land of wickedness, and their people will be called the people with whom the Lord is forever angry, man. Okay, and we're finna see the Lord's anger. Like we've been reading it where Esau have I hated. Well, we finna really see that. And we finna see the Lord's anger against Esau and everything that he's established, man. You know, and this new world order, all right, is about to be rejected. Okay, the Lord's going to reject this man's, all right, new world order, you know, just as he rejected the sacrifice of Cain, okay, because it ain't right. All right, so that's the point. You know, just wanted to get into that. You know, Lord will, you know, you brothers, all right, and you sisters edified once again. I want to give all praise and glory unto Yahweh, Bahashem, Yahweh Shai, Bahashem Rakakadash, and double honors to the apostles and the elders, all right, of GMS who rule well, teach well, being great examples towards younger brothers, and peace and blessings, say to the hopeful elect. Shalom.